Jivatava Branta Mohajala Swamavaratra Prasak Taka Kamma Bhogeshu Patanti Narake Shucho. Bewildered by many thoughts, entangled in the meshes of delusion and addicted to the gratification of desires, they fall into a foul hell. These people are bewildered by many thoughts. Their thoughts are bewildered. God described the mindset of asura, demons, in the 13th, 14th and 15th verses. When people think about such low goals, wishes and desires, their thoughts are extremely unsteady and therefore they are bewildered by many thoughts. They are entangled in the web of delusion and they are addicted to the gratification of desires. Such asura, demons, fall into an extremely impure hell. Such is the state of these people. Let us make some efforts in order to understand this. Their thoughts are bewildered, and the reason for this is that they are entangled in delusion. If a person is entangled in delusion, then there can never be any clarity in their thoughts. There is a reason for this. Let us assume that they have taken a work in their hands. When they achieve success in this work, when their egotism increases, they think that Ishvaroham aham bhoge, Hanishe ham aham bhoge. I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am successful, mighty and happy. When he achieves success, then his egotism increases, and therefore he begins to have much such thoughts. When he achieves failure, then he begins to blame other people. When he blames other people, then he delays and postpones his wishes that fine, this did not happen today, but it will happen tomorrow, after a month or after 2 years. When his wrong work becomes successful, then his egotism increases, and when it does not succeed, then his wishes increase. He is addicted to the gratification of desires and entangled in the meshes of delusion. Therefore his thoughts can never become steady. This is because he makes many resolves and makes many wishes. When his wishes become fulfilled, then there is a sorrow, and if they do not become fulfilled, then there is also sorrow. That is why he is bewildered by many thoughts. He is entangled in the meshes of delusion. There is a very famous saying in Sanskrit, Ratre gamashate bhavishyati suprabhatam Bhasvano deshyati hashyati pankajashvi Idan vichintayati koshgayata videfe ahanta nalinin gaya uchahara. It is night now and the night will go. Morning will come and the sun will rise. The flowers in the garden nearby will bloom, and when my flower blooms, then I will go. The bee thinks this, but then a herd of elephants come and stamp on the flower. A honeybee gets attracted to the smell of a lotus and goes inside the lotus to suck its juice. When the sun rises, then the lotus closes, and the honeybee gets trapped inside the lotus. The honeybee enjoys sucking the juice so much that it becomes addicted to the gratification of this desire. It enjoys it so much that when the sun rises, then it becomes trapped inside the lotus. Until then, it does not even come out of it. The lotus closes, a honeybee eats walls made out of clay. When a person makes a house, then they make a wall out of the clay. The honeybees eat the wall of this clay. If the honeybee wishes, then it can eat its way out of the walls of the lotus, because it has this power. Such a honeybee does not come out of eating the petals of the lotus, because it sits inside, enjoying the smell and drinking the juice, and thinks, Ratre gamashate bhavishyati suprabhatam Basvano deshyati hashayati pankajashvi Idan vichintayati goshgayata videfe ahanta nalinen gaja uchahara. It is night now and the night will go. Morning will come and the sun will rise. The flowers in the garden nearby will bloom, and when my flower blooms, then I will go. The bee thinks this, but then a herd of elephants come and stamp on the flower. The word pankaj is used for lotus, and Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, in the form of a lotus, will open. The honeybee trapped inside the lotus thinks like this, but when a herd of elephants come to drink water near the lake and to bathe, then they see the lotus and first pick up the lotus with their trunk to throw it on the shore, and then at the time of leaving the lake, when the foot of the elephant steps on the lotus, then the honeybee is killed. This is what happens to people with demonic attitude. Each and every one of us are trapped inside our own lotus. We enjoy sucking the juice so much. O clever person, do something else, do something good and turn on path of bhakti, devotion. Develop yourself in life in some way, yet the person still says, I will do it later. 2 years ago and 5 years ago, and through this 2 years, 5 years, 2 years, 5 years, people do not know when death in the form of an elephant comes and stamps on them. They are then finished. This is called being addicted to the gratification of desires, and such people fall into a foul, unclean and impure hell, and they are then destroyed. What do these people do? We would demonic attitudes are mostly of the mode of rajas, passion. They perform actions and they get the results. The demonic attitude is worth understanding. Ravan was a person with a demonic attitude. He had so much wealth. Kamsa was a person with a demonic attitude. He had so much wealth. The funny thing is that these people have wealth, these people have strength, and these people have power, yet they still get destroyed. How is this? This is because they are not able to make good use of all of this. They do not use all of this in order to develop their lives. There was a very big landlord, and a person was working for this landlord. He was a very ordinary person and became a servant. He would work very hard. He earned the trust of the landlord. Slowly and slowly and slowly, the landlord began giving him responsibility for everything. This is because he thought that he was a very trustworthy person and was doing a lot of service. He began giving everything to him, and to such an extent that the servant was giving the keys to the treasury. When all this came into the hands of the servant, when the landlord told the servant that he should look after all the land, when he handed this to him, then the servant began to get crafty. He thought that now I am the owner of this 100 acres, I have to look after all of this. I have to recruit all of these people here. If they are not doing the work properly, then I have to chase them away. I have to pay everyone's salaries. When all of this comes into his hands, and then he began walking around thinking that he is a very clever person. He walked around with so much pride that he now even forgot to bow down to the landlord. When a person gets pride once, then he forgets to bow down. He forgot to even bow down to the person who had given him all of this, and who was the true owner. The landlord realized that this person has now become spoilt, and when this egotism came to the servant, then the landlord called him and told him to give the keys and everything back, and that he should go and sit in his house because he is not needed. This is it. These people with a demonic attitude may be performing satkarma, divine acts, and good deeds, or may have performed satkarma, divine acts, in their previous births. That is why the Supreme Soul has something towards them, because they have performed punya, the opposite of sins. They sit down and God gives them wealth, power and all of this. But after getting all of this, the person has so much pride that he does not even bow down in front of God. He thinks that Ishvaroham aham bhoge, siddho aham balavan sukhi. I am the Lord, I am the enjoyer, I am successful, mighty and happy. He begins to think this, God, that I am the owner of the whole world and I am giving him only this, yet he is sitting there as the owner. My own thinks that it owns me. God says that giving everything back to me, this person then falls into a foul hell. Such people are entangled in the meshes of delusion and are addicted to the gratification of desires which broaden their thoughts, and that is why they fall into a foul hell. The word narak is used for hell, and this is a word worth understanding in two ways. The first way is according to which it is described in the Puranas, and the second is its spiritual meaning. First is a description in the Puranas. Let us get scared a little. Narak hell is described in the Puranas, such as the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad in the Ashwamedha Parva in the Mahabharata. It is worth listening to. In the 5th chapter of the Ashwamedha Parva in the Mahabharata, Vyas Bhagavan describes what Narak hell is. Between Manushya Lok, the human world in which we are in, and the Yamlok, world of God and death, there is a space of 86,000 yojanas. One yojana is between 6 to 15 kilometers. After death, the individual soul gets an invisible body that looks just like it, looks just like its form, and that is like it. This is written in the scriptures. It looks just like us and has form. If we are 5.5 feet tall, then this is also 5.5 feet tall. If I weigh 70 kilograms, then its weight is also 70 kilograms. It looks exactly like the person and is made according to the person. This is because one body is cremated or buried here, and therefore the individual soul gets a body just like that. It is an invisible body. This is described in the Mahabharata, and other scriptures also describe it. It is called a yatna body. He attains a yatna body which goes towards the Yamlok, world of the god of death. And when the individual goes towards Yamlok, world of the god of death, then that path is covered with darkness, probably extremely terrible, filled with sorrows, and unapproachable. There are many difficulties, but the individual has to go on that path. Because there are difficulties, he cannot turn back. He has to keep going. On the path, there are Yamdutta, agents of the god of death, standing there, and these Yamdutta, agents of the god of death, taunt the Yatna body. Therefore, the individual soul, Yatna body, being taunted by the Yamdutta, agents of the god of death, attaining pain to the body, being cut and being filled with fear, reaches there. Arrives at Yamlok, world of the god of death, and suffers sorrow as a consequence of the karmas they have performed in the Manusha Lok, the human world in which we are in. There is something special about the Yatna body. You may have heard in the descriptions of Narak hell that the Yamdutta, the agent of the god of death, tie him up with a rope, take him, beat him with a stick. Above the heat from the sun is burning, and underneath the fires are burning. One has to walk around in such heat with their feet, and a lot of such pain happens. They do not feed him 4 days, keep beating him, and the individual soul in the Yatna body becomes unconscious. When he regained consciousness, then they began beating again. They throw him in the cauldron with oil and boil him. He gets so much pain screaming. But the Yatna body is such that if you break it up into pieces, boil it in a cauldron with oil, throw it into a fire, or do not do anything, then it does not die. How long does it not die for? The Yatna body does not die for as long as there are sins left for which the individual soul has to suffer the consequence. As soon as the sins it has to suffer the consequences for are finished, and the Yatna body becomes finished, then it will move according to the karmas it has performed. For example, after suffering the consequences of its sins, it may go to the Manusha Lok, the human world in which we are in. As a human being, or if it gets demoted then attains an animal body, it is sent back according to the movement it has to get. This is the description in our Puranas. I'm not saying that it is an imagination, but it is written in our scriptures. The goal of the Puranas was that if through these thoughts the human being lives a virtuous life and walks on the right path because of the fear of Narak hell, then what is wrong with this? And many people say that what is written there is humbug, where it says that this happens and that happens. There is no humbug in this. This can happen. Take out your penal code and read it. It is written there that the person who steals will be imprisoned in jail for a certain time and has to do certain things, and a person who has killed another person will get hanged or be hanged unto death. Is this not written in the penal code? It is very clearly written there. Does the penal code look humbug to anyone? It does not so why do the scriptures look humbug? Just like in the material world, when a person does something, then something happened to them and they get punished with sticks. You see, in Middle Eastern countries, that when a person steals, then they get slashed by a large number of whips, and this is still obeyed there. If a person is caught stealing for the 3rd time, in their hands are chopped off, and this is done in public. A large number of whips are given to them in public. This is there, and every 2 or 5 years such a person comes who has to do all of this. But because of this, there are very few crimes over there. Nobody steals over there, nobody does these things. This is because they know that they will get such a punishment. Does this look humbug? It does not look humbug. Then why do you think that our scriptures are humbug? What I mean to say is that do not think that these things are wrong. Just develop your life by thinking about how you can become saved from them. The Shruti, scriptures to be heard, say that. Apicca Saptam. There are 7 types of hell. This is written in the Brahma Sutra. There are 7 types of hell according to descriptions in our Shruti. Scriptures to be heard. What are these? They are Ravrav, Maharav, Vani, Vaitarni, Kumbhihapak, Tamisra, and the Tamisra. Vaitarani has a very frightening description of the Garuda Purana. Those who have listened to the Garuda Purana will know about this. I do not read it. I heard about it in my childhood. This is because it is quite an extensive description and there is a lot of doubt about its authenticity, and that is why I do not read it. The Srimad Bhagavad describes the types of sins one commits through which they go to these Narak hells. A person who is in the material world has harassed people in society for their own selfish purposes. Such people go to the Narak world by the name of Ravrav, and the people they say that they have harassed, those people become animals by the name of Ruru and harassed him. This is the Narak hell by the name of Ravruv. In the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, it is said, while describing the Narak hell of Maharavruv, is such that the people that go to the Narak hell of Ravruv are still not so bad that they are harassed people in society to make their families happy, but some people are such that they care only about their individual selves, only want to make themselves happy, and so they harass society, but they also harass the people in their families. These people were harassed. The people in the family go to hell of Maharavruv. This is one stage below the Narak hell of Ravruv. The Narak hell of Vani means fire. If you have the Garuda Purana in your house, then read about the Narak hell of Vaitarani. You will feel a chill down your spine, and you will find it very scary. Then the Narak hell of Kumbipak is such that human beings who harass others in order to fill their stomachs and kill other animals, such individuals go to the Narak hell of Kumbipak, and there they are boiled in the cauldrons with boiling oil. There they realize how much pain the animals got. Let us leave it, because when I give discourses describing Narak hell, then I see the expressions on people's faces. And there is a very simple and straightforward saying in Gujarati that Je gam javo ni e gam nu na sukam levo. Why should you take the name of the town to which you are not going to? Why would we want to go there? 7 types of Narak hell are described in the Shruti, scriptures to be heard. But the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavad, the 7 and 21 other types of Narak hell are described, and these can be added together to form 28 types of Narak hell. Many people ask why more types of Narak are described in the Srimad Bhagavad than in the Shruti, scriptures to be heard. I told them this is because some time passed between them. In that time that passed between them, people's wrong attitudes increased, and people's wrong activities increased. Therefore more types of hell were needed to be created. And perhaps now, if a great scholar arises who writes the scriptures, then according to the amount of sins are taking place in today's times, then perhaps he will create 58 types of hell. This is because some type of crimes did not used to take place. Again, look at that hell is about punishment, rationally speaking. For example, computers have come and the internet has arisen. Now, if wrong crime takes place on the internet, then what can we do? One person can place from information, one person can inject a virus on purpose, and all of this can happen. People in America are thinking about doing something about all of this. Any human being can do this from anywhere. Until now, the world has not thought about the fact that this crime can happen. This came out, and there are criminal people that commit such crimes. Would you not have to create a punishment for them or not? In the same way, as society progresses, more and more than just like people's wrong activities keep increasing. God cannot even think about the fact that a person who he has created can do works like this. God would therefore have to do is create new types of hell. This can happen. If we look at the spiritual meaning, then great personalities define hell. That a shady, dirty and degrading person is like hell. If we look at it spiritually, then heaven and hell are not geographical places, but states of mind. A destructive person and a wrong person is like Narak, hell himself. He does not need to go anywhere else, because when he is Narak, hell, that is what our great personalities say. A person who is born as a human being does not perform satkarma, divine acts. Such a person is Narak, hell himself. Demonic people fall into such a Narak hell. End of verse.